Pilots have different preferences on how they prefer to see the information displayed on their screen. Some also like to adjust the display layout to focus on different information during takeoff, landing, and other phases of flight. The SkyView HDX display menu allows pilots to make those changes to what their display shows during these different phases of flight, and even at startup. Under the main menu bar of the SkyView HDX system, you will find a button labeled Display. Pressing the button will provide the pilot with the display menu page, revealing several of the in-flight display features available. It should be noted that all of the functions on this page, with the exception of the map info column, dim offset, and setup, will immediately return you to the main screen or active screen with the display change you have commanded once a button has been pressed. The most obvious button you will see once you have selected display is the full button, mostly because it is the largest button on the page and at the top. Selecting full either through a touch gesture or using the knobs will change the display layout to show a full screen of what has been set as the primary content. I will show you how to set the primary content in just a few minutes. Just to the right of the full button is the swap button. If this button is not available, it may be disabled by aircraft manufacturer customization, or it may be unavailable because of the certification basis of your system. Alternatively, if you have 1 or 3 screens, the swap function will also be disabled. It should be noted that the size of the screen does not matter. Having a combination of the 7, 10, or 12-inch screens will swap the same as 2 screens of the same size. Selecting the swap button will immediately swap the layout, button, and menu actions of the 2 screens. It is almost as if you physically removed each screen and swapped them within the aircraft's instrument panel. Now let's talk about the primary content page I mentioned earlier. In the bottom right-hand corner of the display page, you will see a button labeled Setup with a common gear icon representing the setup function. Selecting this button will bring up the display layout page, where changes can be made to the way pages are configured within the display window. Within this page, you should see a submenu labeled Primary Content. This is where you can choose which information page will be designated as your primary content page. Typically, this is the PFD page, which consists of presentation of primary flight instruments and other useful in-flight information. Mapper Engine is useful as your secondary display if your system is properly equipped and configured. The video input is not an option for primary content. It is only available as a secondary display. The primary content page will always be displayed when in flight. Think of it as the display's primary role in the aircraft. Even when a half-page menu or other functions have been selected, that primary page will always be displayed. As you see here, when the map page has been selected as the primary content, the page to the left updates to show that content. The map page has now become the primary content for this specific screen. For many pilots, this is a setting that won't be adjusted very often. Think of the primary content setting as configuring the core identity of the display. There are other ways to show multiple pages of information simultaneously. We'll cover that in a later lesson. Backing up to the main display page menu. When we select full, the entire screen is now occupied with the map page because it has been set as the primary content of this display, and we've asked for a full screen view on this display. Let's go back to the display layout page and look at another submenu located here labeled Primary Side. Just as the title indicates, this function allows the user to select which side of the screen the primary content will be displayed on. This will have an impact when the user is making menu selections or when the display is showing multiple pages in a split screen mode. We'll cover that shortly. This is also very useful in systems where the screen may be offset on the aircraft panel, or simply to suit the pilot's visual preference. As you can see, selecting the left or right button instantly moves the content to the left or right of the screen. Tucked in between the two submenus on the display layout page, you will see a button labeled Split at Boot. When set to on, a green indicator will show it is active. The system will now boot up with the display screen in a split screen content configuration, meaning it will display both the primary content page along with a page the user has configured as the secondary content. I'll tell you more about that shortly. As an example, you can see here how the HDX has booted up with the PFD and map page split on the screen. If the split at boot function is not active, the system will boot with the entire screen showing the page the user has configured to be the primary content. The final button located here on the display layout page is the engine bottom band. Turning this on will provide the pilot with an engine information band along the bottom of the main screen. Configuring this screen will be covered in another video lesson. It should be noted that the engine bottom band contains an area that can be momentarily covered. This will happen when a menu page is being displayed, like this display page, or when you're splitting the screen with an EMS page or expanded map page. In these cases, the half of the EMS band that is not underneath the primary page will be covered. This is something the installer should address when configuring this page by putting the essential content on the primary half of the engine bottom band. And now back to the display page. You might have figured out by now that this submenu area labeled Split Content with several buttons within its border is what allows the pilot to choose what they see on the secondary window containing the other 50% of the screen. Depending on how your aircraft is equipped and configured, the split content area will contain selections for PFD, engine, map, and video, and if equipped with an ACM or vertical power unit, a button for those accessories. Notice how one of the buttons here is dimmed. This indicates that it is unselectable because it has already been designated as the primary content. And as I mentioned, selecting any of these buttons will immediately configure the screen as you have selected. If you want to further adjust the display options, you can quickly get back to the split content function by pressing the display button again on the main menu bar. The button labeled Map Info Column will activate an optional vertical data column, which can be displayed, as it implies, vertically on the map page. In addition, this column will be displayed on any of the primary content pages, including the PFD and engine page, when they are set at full screen. This column is selected on or off as indicated by the green band illuminated at the top of the button. When the map info column is displayed, it contains up to 10 separate information items derived from SkyView's built-in mapping and flight planning features. These items can include information like ETA to final destination, GPS ground speed, or distance above ground level. The map info column will be presented on the right or left side of the map page, depending on which side of the screen the map page has been configured to be located. How this column is configured and the information available will be covered in another video. Our final button on this page is the dim offset function. SkyView HDX's display backlighting is controlled by its ambient light sensor to actively adjust the brightness based on the current lighting conditions in the cockpit. The brightness is synchronized across multiple displays and SkyView network panel modules like the COM radio, knob control panel, and AP control panel. If, however, you find that the displays are too bright or not bright enough for you, you can adjust the offset of this default brightness. The dim offset menu allows you to manually choose an offset from the default brightness values based on the current ambient lighting. This lets you fine-tune the brightness of the display to your preference, while still allowing SkyView to adjust for changing light conditions within the cockpit. To manually decrease or increase the backlight brightness, press the decrease or increase icons noted as DC or INC on the soft key buttons. Alternatively, to adjust the backlight brightness with the knob, touch the value box. Then rotate the knob located closest to the menu window and indicates it is in the cursor mode to adjust the setting. To quickly brighten the screen to its maximum, select the full button. To reset the offset back to 0, select the default button. As a safety precaution, at no time will SkyView dim the display to a level that would cause it to be illegible for ambient lighting conditions. Thanks for watching this SkyView HDX Academy video. Be sure to visit the Dynon YouTube channel and look for more Academy videos under the HDX Academy playlist.